Hello, welcome to Wanda's Cafe. And I'm excited today because as you can see that in honor of Kwanzaa, I'm wearing, most of you have never seen me in my traditional garments from what we refer to as the motherland, from the land of Kemet. And we have someone who's going to tell us more about what I'm talking about Kwanzaa. And I'm so excited about who we have here today. I've had many guests that I'm honored to have on my show. But this one, I think, has touched more lives than anyone probably in America. This is someone who has brought the African American family celebration to America. And I can't believe that we have the Honorable Dr. Maulana Karenga with us today. Thank you.
It's good to be here. You honor me by your invitation.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And Dr. Karenga is the creator of Kwanzaa. Dr. Karenga, welcome to Wanda's Cafe.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Now, you are a professor. Well, you know, your credits, they're long.
Yes.
So we're just going to kind of briefly, so that I can have the people know and understand Kwanzaa. Those who don't know, those who do know can refresh themselves. And we can also, you know, just celebrate.
Yes.
You're a professor now at Long Beach.
Yeah, I'm a professor of Black Studies.
Black Studies.
California State University, Long Beach.
California State, Long Beach. And you hold 2 doctorates, PhDs.
Yes, 2 PhDs, and one in political science, the second in social ethics. And I have an honorary doctorate from the University of Durban, Westfield in South Africa.
Okay. And when you create Kwanzaa, and you also president of an organization,
Yeah, I'm
US?
chair of the organization US, which is the founding organization of US, and I'm chair also of the National Association of Kawaida Organizations, which is organizations that use my philosophy, don't belong to us, but use my philosophy for value orientation, philosophical grounding.
Now, also, when you Kwanzaa is a African. Tell me what you mean by that. I know what that means, but I want to make sure everyone...
Yes, certainly. When we say Pan-African, it means it belongs to all African. So Kwanzaa is first an African-American holiday, but it is a Pan-African in that it is built on and based on the best of African views and values, and by which we understand and assert ourselves in the world. And of course, I've written a definitive text on that called Kwanzaa, a celebration of family, community, and culture.
And that was what we saw in the opening.
And I urge people to read that because there's a lot of misconceptions about Kwanzaa for people not reading and studying. I won't say that the majority of African people know that, but sometimes people who come in who've just heard about it might not understand it in terms of its beauty, integrity, and expansive meaning. So I urge you to get the book as a foundation and to urge your libraries to get the book.
Of course, absolutely. I know that a few years ago, I had said to someone who's not African American, celebrating Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa, what's Kwanzaa? And I said, the African American celebration, a holiday celebration. And he says, oh, you got to have your own holiday now. So I want to make sure that the people who have not actually been out there in the world of other people.
Yes, and see, we need to do that.
Know that this is it's not a substitute.
For anything.
For anything.
It has its own initiative. It has its own integrity. It's a dignity-affirming celebration of family, community, and culture that African people engage in every year. I created Kwanzaa not in opposition to anything. I created Kwanzaa, first of all, for 3 basic reasons. One, to reaffirm our rootedness in African culture. We are an African people, but because of the Holocaust of enslavement, we were lifted out of our own history and culture and made a forgotten footnote and casualty in other people's history and culture. So when we were in the 60s, we were struggling to return to our history and our culture, speak our own special culture truth, and make our own unique contribution to the forward flow of human history.
Go ahead.
Yes. No, please. The second reason I created was to give us a time when all around the world, we as African people, that's the Pan-African character, we as African people all over the world could come together, reaffirm the bonds between us, us sit down and meditate on the meaning and awesome responsibility of being African in the world. And certainly that has happened, because now over 28 million people throughout the world African community on every continent in the world celebrate this holiday. And finally, I created Kwanzaa in order to introduce and reaffirm the importance of communitarian African values, values that stress and strengthen family, community, and culture. And of course, the hub and hinge on which the holiday turns are the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles. And those values or principles, as everyone knows, are first in Swahili and then in English. Umoja, unity. Kujichagulia, self-determination. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Nia, purpose. Kuumba, creativity. And Imani, faith.
Okay. First, let's start with, you said you created it, and you Kwanzaa using the language that is the most universal language,
yes,
which would be Swahili.
It's the most widely spread language in Africa, and it's not simply attached to an ethnic group. It is certainly the language, the most widely spread language of Africa, and therefore a Pan-African language. Then there are over 13 countries speak it. It is spoken in over 13 countries.
And then you used the word, the Swahili word of Kwanzaa is just with one A.
Yes, the history behind that is that the word Kwanzaa comes from the phrase Matunda ya Kwanzaa, which means first fruits. And that shows the origin of the holiday, which is in the first fruits or first harvest celebrations of Africa. And Kwanzaa means first. But at the beginning of the organization, we had 7 children that wanted to represent the letters of Kwanzaa, do an acrostic. And it only had 6 letters. So to show our emphasis on the person, we added an A, so that all the children that wanted to could in fact participate in the celebration. So that's how Kwanzaa has its second A.
Okay, and you said the Nguzo Saba. Tell us what Nguzo Saba means.
Nguzo Saba means 7 principles or 7 pillars. These are the foundations of our community. When I was creating Kwanzaa, I studied African culture and I asked myself, what is the social glue and cement that holds these cultures together, give them the humanistic and beautiful character. And I found out it was the communitarian values. And what I did was then choose 7 of these values that not only continuously appeared in my studies of African culture, but also were necessary in the contribution of the liberation struggle we were waging. Kwanzaa is a product also of the Black freedom movement.
Yes.
And there are 2 aspects to it.
Yes.
There's a political aspect of freedom and justice and equality and power, but there's also the culture aspect of recovering the best of what it means to be African and human in the fullest sense, speaking that special culture truth to the world, and using it as a framework and foundation to enrich and enhance our lives as a people.
I notice in your book you refer a great deal to restructuring and finding, our future as well as the history.
Yes.
And was that one of the bases?
Oh, yes. One of the most important acts of a people today who has suffered the kind of oppression that we have suffered is to recover our history and our culture and to use it, as I said earlier, as a foundation and framework to enhance and enrich our lives, to push our lives forward, to shape our future, and to contribute to this ongoing human project of expanding the realm of human freedom and human flourishing in the world. That's a multicultural project too, so Kwanzaa comes at a good time because it helps people to appreciate other cultures. It speaks a special culture truth that not only speaks directly to African people, but speaks to the best of what it means to be human, because the highest African values are at the same time the highest human values. We are the ones who stood up first, spoke the first human truth, taught the world what was good and beautiful. We are the ones who said, speak truth, do justice, honor your elders and your ancestors, cherish and challenge your children, care for the poor and vulnerable among you, give food to the hungry, water to the thirsty, clothes to the naked, and a boat to those without one. Be a staff of support for those of old age, be a shelter for the battered, a husband for the widow, a father for orphan, a mother for the timid, a raft for the drowning, and a ladder for those trapped in the pit of despair. We taught the world these things. And people came to ancient Egypt, called Kemet then, to learn. Jew, Gentile, Hittite, Hyksos, Roman, Greek, Persian, Libyan, they all came to study.
Well, I didn't get a chance, I haven't traveled with you to Egypt, but I had an opportunity to travel with a good friend of yours, Dr. Asa Hilliard.
Yes.
To Egypt
Yes.
to do a dig, and we also was there when Jesse got his honorary doctorate from Cairo University.
Yes.
And I tell you, I felt so at home. Is that something that other blacks feel when they go?
Oh, yes. People feel very good. People get off the plane and kiss the ground.
Yes.
It's a return. You say, the ancient text said, come back to the black land. Come back to Egypt.
And that's what Kemet is.
Yes. Kemet means the black land.
The black land.
So,
originally, it was the black land before it was Egypt. And before it was
Egypt
Africa.
is Greek. It's Greek. It's really an anglicization of the Greek.
Okay.
That they.
But Kemet, Africa was originally called Kemet. Right?
The ancient Egyptians called their land
Kemet.
Kemet, and there's some other names they call it Tameri, which means beloved land.
Okay, but it was not Hillary Clinton who said it takes a village.
Oh, no, that's our culture. A lot of times people get things from us and they don't know it because it's hidden under the mystification of racism and oppression. For example, the whole concept that we're in the image of God actually comes not from the Jewish text, but comes from the ancient Egyptian text, the Hosea, as early as 2140 BCE, where Keti says we're in the image of God, came from his very person, and there are certain things we cannot do to ourselves nor allow others to do, or at least we violate that special status. And so the whole idea of human dignity, inherent worthiness, evolves from the ancient Egyptian classical text.
Okay, let's go start with the Nguzo Saba and start how would, if a family were together and to start preparing for the celebration, first of all, tell us the dates.
The Kwanzaa is from 26 December to the 1st of January. And it is 7 days long, and it introduces the 7 principles. So that the first day, December the 26th, is Umoja. The 27 is Kujichagulia, all the way to January 1st, which is Imani Day. But that's also Siku Yatamuli, which is the day of meditation, in which we are to sit down and think soberly on what it means to be an African, to measure ourselves in the mirror of the best of our culture and ask, where do we stand? And to do that, we're to ask ourselves 3 basic questions. Who am I? Am I really who I am? And am I all I ought to be?
Now,